Okay, good afternoon to all. Today I will discuss about solid state welding process under unit 3. In case of resistance seam welding, series of spot welding and electrodes are like discs. In case of resistance seam welding, here electrodes are like discs. Electrodes working as a discs and work is continuously moving. May be stitch, seam or overlapping in that welding process. In case of spot welding, we have seen the different shape of the electrodes, but here in case of seam welding, the electrodes are disc type and electrodes are cold rolled copper with some cadmium chromium alloy. Okay, means disc type electrodes. And electrodes near about 40 to 350 millimeter diameter in case of seam welding, and current we have provided 2000 to 5000 ampere current we have provided in case of electron seam resistance seam welding, and near about apply 5 to 6 kilonewton force for joining of the both the plates. Here speed, welding speed near about 0.5 to 3.5 meter per minute welding speed. Water steam is directly used to cool the electrode. Means sometimes when we applying the current to the both the electrodes, sometimes what happens, both the electrodes will be heated. So for cooling purpose of that electrodes, we have using the sometime water jacket. And 0.25 to 3.2 millimeter thickness can be joined using that welding process. In case of resistance seam welding application, generally we have used in case of for joining of tanks, tubes, airtight joints. In that cases, we have used that resistance seam welding. That type of tanks we have joined using that welding discs, means resistance seam welding discs. And here we are seeing that in case of resistance seam welding, both the electrode are the disc type electrode. Both are the disc type electrode, and using that disc type electrode we applying the pressure near about 5 to 6 kilonewton force, and that is the metal pull, means metal plate we have used, that is the metal plate 1, that is the metal plate 2, and welding speed near about 0.5 to 3.5 meter per minute speed. And when we applying the current both the electrodes, both during that time, that will be created the pressure, and due to continuous supplying of the current, both the plates will be heated, means it will be create the nugget zone, means molten state or plastic state it will be converted, and during that time both the electrodes, mean both the discs create some pressure, and due to providing the pressure in that zone, that will be welded, and current near about 2000 to 5000 ampere that will be supplied in that welding process. That is the resistance seam welding. Both the plates are keeping that electrodes are as like disc type electrodes, and between that disc type electrodes we kept the both the plates. That is the water tube. Sometimes we providing the water to that particular electrodes for controlling the temperature of that particular electrodes. And when we apply the current, then the both the metal pieces, sometimes that will be created some heated zone, and during that time we applying the pressure using that both the disc type electrode, and that will help to create the joint across that particular plate. That type of tanker, also container, easily we have joined that type of vessels we can heat exchanger, that type of thing we easily joined using that welding process. Now we will discuss the resistance projection welding. In case of resistance port welding, projection welding, there is a series of spot welding is done at a time. Means number of spots are there. Say number of spots we can join easily using that welding process. Using resistance projection welding, small dimples or projection are embossed or quaint in one particular sheets. And in that particular sheet, when we apply the current, the projection softened are pushed back. Means applying the pressure on that particular plate. And during that time, electrode pressure weld spot form, means nugget will be formed, and in that time due to formation of the nugget, applying the pressure and both the all the spot, means all the projections easily joint both the plates. The surface at the projection must be cleaned one, means before welding all the faces, means all the spots or all the projection must be cleaned properly, otherwise the weld quality will be deteriorated. Up to 3 mm thin sheets we have joined using that resistance spot welding process. Here we seen that is the fixed arm, okay, and that is the movable arm. Using that movable arm we giving the pressure, okay. That is the both the plate. One plate we have kept that is the electrode, okay. Both the plate, one plate we are keeping, and there are number of projections is there, number of projections are there. One plate we have kept, and on that we kept that type of workpiece, okay. And if that type of projections are there, due to that projection particular sheet applying the current, and due to applying current, that both the sheets will be some heated conditions, and due to heated conditions some nugget will be created, means some molten state will be created, and in that time using movable arm we giving the pressure on that particular plate, and due to providing pressure both the plates will be joined properly using that projections, and after welding that type of projections will not kept in that particular welding process, means it will plane the particular sheet will be created, means particular welding joints, normal welding joints will be created after providing the pressure. Projection welding means both the rods, means cylindrical type rods we have kept, and both the electrodes, and in that electrodes we providing the pressure, means that type of projection is there, that is the plane plate, and that are the projections. Now both the plates we kept between two electrodes. When we applying the current, both the plates here create one nugget zone, means molten zone, then using that particular pressure, providing the pressure through that particular electrode, that projections will be converted into welding conditions, means that after welding these types of no projection will be kept in that particular plate. Normal projection means normal welding joint will be created and flat type sheet will be created after welding. Now start welding. In case of start welding, we have seen that to weld large diameter fasteners on the plates we have joined easily, and electric arc is produced between the flat surface and the workpiece and the start one component that will be connected easily on the particular flat plate using that resistance start welding easily, and the arc melts at the end of the start, and the start is forced on the work surface. Means start component is there. After taking the start components, using particular holding device is there. After holding the start component, the start component kept nearby the metal plate. Okay, that is the metal plate. On that particular metal plate, one start component is there. That start component held by the particular holding faces of that particular welding setup. Then when we applying the current on that particular plate, that will be nugget zone, means molten state will be created, and after that applying the pressure, that start will be connected to that particular flat plate easily. That is the main fundamental principle in case of electric resistance start welding. And a special welding gun is used. It consists of spring, solenoid, trigger, timer. Number of components are present in that particular welding process, and to avoid oxide formation at the front end of the start, in that cases some flux material we have used, means before the formation of the oxide. Another, this process used for mass production, that process also used in case of mass production. Here we are seeing that is the collar, that is the start component, that is the start component, okay, and that is the start collet, that is the start collet material, and that is the ceramic collar that will help to hold that particular start component. Okay, now that is the spring, and that is the solenoid arrangement is there, and using that electrode we hold the particular the start material. After holding that start material, that will kept on that particular workpiece. Okay, means after providing the current to that particular workpiece and the start, that will be connected easily, means nugget zone will be created, and giving the pressure, that start will be connected easily to that workpiece material. Here, that is the in case of butt welding. In case of butt welding, we have seen that the workpiece is clamped in copper jaw, and there may be some air gap we are keeping to that workpiece. Okay, and in no arcing takes place in that particular offset butt welding, and jaw are brought together in a solid contact. When the current flows through the point of contact of the particular to jaw to form a locality of high electric resistance, means both the material we kept nearby, so, and that will be held by the jaw arrangement. Okay, at this point apply the pressure, offset forces the part together, means the principle is same, means apply the pressure, means applying the current in the particular mating zone, the some portion will be converted into plastic state, and in that cases by applying the pressure both the plates will be joined. This process is mainly used for joining of non-ferrous materials such as rod, wire, tube. Using that welding process we have connected that to that mating surfaces, and here we have seen that is the welding pressure we have providing to that particular clamping force, and that is the fixed head, as that is the movable head. Okay, that is the welding pressure, means that is the workpiece material, that is the pieces material. Both the materials we connected in across this zone. Okay, means hold the workpiece properly, and that is the using movable head we applying the pressure, and due to giving the pressure in that particular zone, it will some parts will be melted. Very small amount of parts will be melted, means converted in plastic state condition. In that condition, applying pressure, then it will be joined. In case of butt welding, the workpiece is clamped in copper jaw, and jaw are water cooled. Sometimes applying pressure, the copper jaw sometimes heated, and for controlling the heat to that particular copper, sometimes water cooled we have used. Heavy current passed through that particular jaw. Workpiece are brought together in slight contact. When current flows through the workpiece and electric arc, flash is produced, and after that ends reach fusing temperature, power is switched off. Means when the end portion, both the end portion of that particular rod, it will be fused, means it will be converted into molten state. At that time we switched off the power, and applying the mechanical pressure, the weld is completed. Means the projection is removed by grinding. Means sometimes after joining, sometimes some projections will be created. That for getting the good finishing of that welding joint, sometimes we are doing the grinding, and also used to join the various cross section, wheel steel and non-ferrous alloy. We have joined using that process. Just here we have seen that, means that is the jaw, means holding of the workpiece, that is the holding of the workpiece, both the jaw we kept nearby. So applying the current, here what happens, now nugget zone will be created, means fusion zone will be created. After creating the fusion zone, we switch off the power supply. We switch off the power supply. Switch off the power supply. Okay. After switch off that, after doing the melting zone, we giving the pressure using that zone. We giving the pressure. After providing the pressure, that melting zone will be connected. Okay. And then welding will be completed. Percussion welding. In that welding process, employing we electrical transformer to get the required power, and alternatively electrical energy for welding may be stored sometimes in capacitor for welding purpose. In that welding process, the power is discharged with a 1 to 10 milliseconds. In that time we discharge the power to develop the localized high heat at the welding faces, means in the joint. Means in that power supply arrangement, the power will be discharged within 1 to 10 milliseconds to develop the high heat or high localized high heat in the joint. The process is useful where heating of the components adjacent to the joint to be avoided. Generally, that will be applied in electronics assemblies or electrical wires. Here we seeing that is the fixed arm and that is the movable arm, and both the workpiece. Okay, means using that and some spring will be added. Means using that spring, we applying the pressure on that workpieces. Means after applying the pressure using that spring arrangement, then it will be come back to original positions. Means after applying the pressure, and then here some portion will be melted and then it will be joined. And end of this lecture, student will able to learn about the laser beam welding process, electron beam welding process, resistance welding and its different types.